The fifth round of 12 for the 2025 Catalyst 317 Indy Elite Series takes the field to the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds just outside of Milwaukee. One of the oldest racing ovals in the country, this place is hallowed ground for racing in North America, and perhaps no more so than with IndyCar. And as the championship here nears the halfway point, Jacob Oster was the first driver to put a chink in Brandon Treno's armor at Texas. So we'll see if that momentum continues after 150 laps at the famous Milwaukee Mile. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer, joined by Vinny DeCuna tonight for the fifth round of the Catalyst 317 Indy Elite Series, and it's been a pretty frantic start to the season so far, but Brandon Treno racked up 3 victories early on, but that came to a stop at Texas. We missed that broadcast because I was out with illness. I had a different, more different illness as of late. That's why I sound a little different tonight. But Finian, it's time to continue this championship and see if anybody can build up against Treno.
Yeah, I was honestly amazed to see his dominance stop because he's been winning at everything. The first 3 races, completely different tracks, a speedway, short oval, and a road course. Then we head back to an oval. Jacob Oster won there. We may see someone break the spell tonight, as well as qualifying just about getting underway at the Milwaukee Mile. A very different track, almost completely different to Gateway. Yes, they're both short ovals, but Milwaukee significantly flatter. It's going to be extremely tough to pass. That means qualifying is going to be one of the most important, probably the most important. We'll see it at any track this season so far.
Yeah, Hamilton Akabueze up at the top of the order right now, 21.775. Andreas Eick second place. Looking down the order, Brandon Treno only 6th, so he will not stand on pole here today. And interestingly enough, where did Jacob Oster end up? Is he present tonight? He is. He has not yet qualified, and he's running out of time to do so, actually.
Yeah, it looks like he has not tried to put a lap in. I thought maybe he may have had a failed attempt, but it doesn't look like he has. But I guess he's waiting until the very end. I mean, it only takes about 20-something seconds to make a lap in. He's waiting until the last possible second, potentially, to get one in. Oh, actually, no, he has. I see that he is finished, so he is starting from the back.
So he'll be at the tail of the field, and that's what you pointed out. The topic of conversation tonight is absolutely going to be whether or not you can actually even make passes around here. It's a challenging place to race. You might get a yellow flag or two where you can maybe jump somebody in the pits, but this is not a racetrack I find it easy to pass in these cars, Finian. And there's not really a lot of lines you can use here either. This is pretty flat, pretty abrasive, and you're going to have to get creative to make up any ground, especially from the tail of the field.
It really is going to take a lot of creativity. It is definitely possible to make a pass, but you're going to see become few and far between. It's going to take a lot of setup, and especially a lot of setup work with your setup going in. Of course, being open setup, these drivers have a lot to play with, so that could be a big factor tonight. Who's got the best setup? And at the moment, at least for qualifying, looks like it's Hamilton Akabueze up in front. Tony Schowen putting in a fantastic lap right at the end, up to second. Great lap from the number 31.
Yeah, that's a 21.790, just 15 one-thousandths off of Akabueze. Julian Alton will be our last qualifier. We'll see what he's got coming out of turn 4. And with 8 seconds to spare across the stripe, 22.509, that'll put him down in 15th place. I think he would have liked a little better than that. But he is going to be P15. Oster dead last for 18th place for the start of this race. Graphics are a little slow tonight. I don't know. I was just talking to Finian about this before. There's something going on behind the scenes that is making these a little laggy, so we'll probably not be firing up all the fun stuff tonight, unfortunately, including the grid. But we'll get down to the racetrack here momentarily after a short warm-up period. Let's talk points and where we are at this point in the season, Finian. Again, we're 5 rounds in there. This is the 5th round of 12. And when you look at the standings, with Brandon Treno still leading comfortably by 25 points over Jester Orman. Jacob Oster up 5 positions with that win from Texas. He's still 38 back from Treno, so you have to build a lot of momentum to run him down at this point in the season.
And definitely one thing that's not going to help is him starting from the back for tonight. He's definitely going to be a big hole. Again, like I said, out of all the races to start from the back from, this up there with one of the worst. It's going to be a big challenge. He's probably up for it. I'm not sure that was planned. From what I could tell, it didn't seem like he got a lap out on the track. But it's going to be a big hill for him to climb. Fortunately for him, Brandon Treno also not the best qualifying effort. He's way back in 10th place for this race. So there's for a lot of these drivers, Hamilton Akabueze, Andreas Pike, Jesper Orman, they're first, third, and fourth. As far as a championship run, this is a great chance to maybe start getting things set in the right direction because we're at pretty close. We're almost just shy of halfway through the season. So the season's starting to wrap up. You really need to get things down and get it going in the right direction now. This could be a turning point.
Yeah, we've had a lot of ovals in the opening part of this season. Treno won at Homestead at Worldwide Technology Raceway and again on the road course at Indy. So he's been able to show us strength on all of those facilities. But we go to Road America after Iowa, which is a couple of weeks from now. And then we've also got Mid-Ohio and Long Beach left as far as the road courses go. So we could see some other strengths there. And I think the road courses also bring an element of unpredictability with the lap traffic that you might not see at a track like this tonight necessarily. So we'll see how things pan out. But as we near that halfway point, you're starting to see sort of the gist of how things are going. And for Treno, they're going well. For everyone else, they just need to up the game a little bit.
Yeah, they definitely do, and I'm sure they're all kind of waiting to see what's going to happen, especially with him working through traffic. I'm interested in seeing how he works through traffic because at Gateway, which is the most similar race we had to this season, both being short ovals, he was pretty much in the front of the race the entire time. I don't think he really dropped lower than third or fourth, and he was more or less in front of Clean Air. A couple positions back, starting in 10th. He's going to be in traffic, having to work through it. I definitely think he's going to be able to do so, but it's going to be a challenge, and I guess the big question is going to see how long will it take him to get to the front? May he even get to the front? Because we got some heavy hitters up in the front. Orman, Oster, and Akabueze all starting near the front, and they're quick, very quick as well. A lot of them probably missing a win because they had some trouble at some point in the season. No, Akabueze has had some trouble. Oster's had some trouble as well.
Working our way around here on the back straightaway, watching Akabueze. He has been quick so far, hasn't he? Quickest of those in warm-up so far as well. Also, I'm just live discovering maybe what's going on with the graphics, or trying to anyway.
Trying to diagnose it on the fly?
Yeah, it's...
Look at you using like computer science degree, probably not, but...
Well, now I've narrowed it down. It's not... It's related to the NDI performance. Which is interesting to me, because that hasn't been a problem before. Which, that's meaningless jargon to everybody, but
for the one person that may know.
Yeah, I thought it was my network, but it's not. So that is peculiar. Well, I'll dive into that later. Anyway, the timer is a little weird, as you can tell. Jacob Oster to the top, and he'll have to be quick all night long. And how aggressive do you get with strategy tonight? I mean, is there anything that you can do to leapfrog? I don't know that you're going to come from 18th to win this race organically. So what can you do to jump some spots?
Really is coming into pit at the right time. Lap traffic going to be an issue for the leaders. Coming in, depending on how much of traffic you're getting. If you're stuck in behind a driver, you want to leapfrog them. You can't pass them on the track. You could always attempt to pass them in the pits, and that's where we're probably going to see that strategy come into play. There's not going to be that many pit stops. I'm expecting these guys to go around 55, 60 laps, maybe a little bit more, but more or less is going to be a two-stop race. Should we go green? That's also going to be another big thing, is how many cautions we may have. I think might be fairly on the low side. We're going to see these guys get pretty spread out. Could definitely see some people catching trouble, some people pushing maybe the envelope a little bit too hard. I know you especially trickle out of line. That's actually a fantastic thing we should talk about, I just realized, is with the new marbles in iRacing, that outside line, that's going to be treacherous.
It is, and that's really been something we've been following on the road racing side, is how effective that change has been for reducing grip. And while that effective might sound like that was a good thing, for the drivers it's not, because they'll build up those marbles, they'll get into them, and it makes that multi-groove racing that you sort of could get away with before really a thing of the past. So it makes everything just that much harder. We'll head down to the racetrack here. 150 laps. If we go green from flag to flag, it's about 55 minutes worth of racing. Do we go green from flag to flag, Finian, or are we going to get a yellow or three?
I think we might get one or two, especially when these guys are pushing in the earlier part of this race. Maybe trying to find the boundaries. Figure out how far they can push the setup. They, of course, have in-car adjustments. They can adjust the front and rear anti-roll bars, a weight jacket. They're going to be playing with that all race long. Someone's probably going to overstep their bounds at some point, and then, like I said, especially with the marbles, that can catch a lot of people off guard because it's still fairly new. Yes, you can practice all you want, but once you get into an actual race, the marbles start getting laid down with drivers running their actual lines. You may accidentally step out, and you can see someone easily wash into the wall and crash.
Cars are gridding. It's a relatively small field here tonight, 18 on the grid. That reduces your opportunity for those yellow flags, I think, versus having a field of 30 or 40. Not that we would have 40 here, but point being, generally your risk goes up with the more cars you have on the racetrack. And pace car is rolling for our pace lap. Predictions, let's talk Brandon Treno. Rolls off 10th. Does he get his 4th win of the season tonight, or has he got work to do?
It's really tough to say because so much can go wrong when you have yourself in traffic at a race like this. It's a little bit iffy. So we could see him easily come from the front, and he might not be even a talking point. He might get into the lead by lap 50, for all we know. But it's definitely a risk. There's a risk that he can get crashed out in something not of his own, and then we could potentially see another winner for the season.
I think the most dangerous part of this race is going to be the first 15 or 20 laps, as everyone, they know how hard it is going to be to pass. They know the low risk for yellow flags. That means a high risk for passing here in the early stages as everyone goes for what they can. I love the speed I've seen out of Akabueze. Andreas Eich is always a threat. Jesper Orman's put in a great season so far. Can he potentially be the upset here today? Cars rolling out of turn number 4, the Milwaukee Mile, the Catalyst 317 Indy Elite Series. It is time to go racing. Round number 5 of 2025. Here we go. Green flag, we're racing in Milwaukee. Tony Schowen on the outside of Ike there. We're really tight on a turn 4, almost a touch there. 2 by 2 for second on back as Akabueze sprints away.
Brandon Treno, I was watching him on the start of this race, already up 2 spots. Almost got into Tim Holgate because he got washed up. Whoa, car caught the curving and sideways. I think that's Orman or almost around. He's able to save it, but he's going to drop way down the order from 4th.
It is Orman. Look at Andrew Wood in the 64. The bottom of the racetrack. And is that Treno in contact? And it's Treno up and airborne and up and over. And Kevin Burrell is also caught up in it. But Treno will not win his 4th race of the season, and like I said, the first 15 laps of the race, catastrophe for the points leader.
I said there was that risk. I didn't think my prediction would come true so early, but there always is that risk starting in the middle of the field, and unfortunately, as he's in the middle 3 wide, looks like he's going to be retiring early out of this one.
Andrew Wood washing up, and then it's actually Treno that got into Burrell that started that whole thing. And Burrell, man, right into the pit attenuator too. And a quick end for the championship leader. Just drifts up. Wow. For Burrell, not really a lot. I mean, he was giving what I would consider to be a lot of space. Scott caught up. His night will likely be over as well.
Yeah, curious to see how the admins will roll on who's at fault. I mean, it doesn't change the end result with Treno being retired and actually scored in dead last out of the 18 drivers there. But I'm just wondering if maybe he was going maybe a little bit too aggressive early on. I mean, it's only lap 2, and he did make up some great ground and was moving up some spots. At the time of the crash, I think he was in 6th. So I think might have pushed a little bit too hard early on. A couple of drivers here in the back coming in to top off on some fuel.
Musselman leads Stouffer, Branch. Pretty much everyone from 11th on back is in for fuel. Just a quick splash. We're only a couple laps in. We've only done 2 or 3 green flag laps. So big opportunity to grab points tonight for guys like Jesper Orman, Jacob Oster. Kevin Burrell was 4th in the standings. Let's not forget how high he was. So he's going to drop down quite a ways. Just big opportunity for those that made it through that accident to climb up and steal some points away from the front runners.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's going to be licking their chops. This is what I was talking about. This could be a turning point. It's definitely going to be a turning point with Trano finishing down in 18th. It's a big chance for other drivers to pick up some valuable points. Talking about Kevin Brella, he's been very consistent this season. I think that's really what's gotten him up to 4th place. He's finished 5th, and at the first race season finished 7th. So he's been really remarkably consistent up near the front. Unfortunately, that's going to end for him. He's going to be dropping down the order with his car destroyed on pit lane.
Not knowing much about the repairability of these cars, does that car stand any chance of getting back out to make any laps? Is it worth doing?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe not. It is so hard to make up laps at a shorter track like this. Yeah, I don't really think we're going to see both of them back out on the track. I don't remember. I remember at one point the car was more repairable, but you're going to be several laps down. And considering it's already hard to pass, trying to pass to get yourself back in the lead lap, not sure that's on the cards.
Lights are out on the safety car, and that means green flag next time by. The pink car, Hamilton Akbueze out front, leads Andreas Ike. Tony Schouen was alongside Ike in the early stages, but Andreas was able to hold that inside and maintain P2. Andrew Wood to 4th place in that 64. Here we come to the restart. And you got to wait a little bit here because the pace car pulls off so late. Don't want to pass it. We've seen people get penalties for passing the pace car before the green. Now we're back underway at Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm sure Hamilton Akbueze, the last thing he wants is a penalty. They could easily take him out. He could have had a win at Homestead. Unfortunately, got caught up in a wreck. Actually, no, sorry, he had a pit stop. He had a black flag at Homestead for speeding in the pits. So that cost him a win there, and now he's been effectively given opportunity on a silver platter. Meanwhile, looking further back, Orman trying to make up some ground after his near spin earlier on. Gets one spot over David Adams. Now looking at Rayshad Craig for 7th place.
Yeah, see it. Oster can make up some ground on the outside. He's way up there. I wonder if there's also some opportunity to make these charges on the outside. Whoa, that was dicey.
Whoa. Oster shooting the gap, getting 1, 2, maybe 3 spots in a straightaway.
Point I was going to say was there's not a lot of marbles up there in the high lane yet. You might as well use it now before it gets messy. Andrew Wood passed Schouen for 3rd.
Yeah, that's curious thing is to see how the marbles build up, especially organically, because like you said, the track is still pretty green, still pretty fresh, so there's not a lot of it at the moment. Later on, that could definitely be an issue, but that's again going to be a learning curve for a lot of these drivers having to deal with maybe that for the first time at a short oval like this. Looking at Tim Holgate trying to make up a move on Tony Schouen. He's still running really well after qualifying up in 2nd. Here he goes for a look on the inside of Schouen. Schouen's moving outside, which I would say might be a little bit better to keep going, but he actually give up the spot, let Holgate on through.
Just behind them, Adrian Lebel in the number 8, and Jacob Oster, who's on a vicious charge since the restart. He was not one of the drivers that came down to pit road, but up to 6th. Remember, he started dead last, 18th place with that yellow, and a couple of drivers jumping out of the way to add some fuel to the car. He's up almost to the top 5.
He's having a great run. He's going to get a fantastic run on Schouen here. Backed up the corner, lined it up for the run off the corner, set this up perfectly with a dive to the inside in 3. And we'll slide up in front of Schouen, and he'll be back in the top 5. Well, we'll be in the top 5 for the first time tonight. And we're only on lap 11, so a great run for the 16. I think he knows with that stake is that there's a lot of points on the table that he can make up, and he doesn't want to throw it away. Here comes Orman with another aggressive move on the inside of level, and he also knows that it's also a chance for him to make up some points.
Yeah, maybe it's no surprise. Oster would have qualified up here or better, had he gotten a lap in, but he just either got in the fence or something, and that's what started him out back. It certainly wasn't based on his pace. Over the course of these runs, open setup series, a flat racetrack like this, how much is your weight jacker getting used? How important is that to get the balance of the car sorted as the fuel burns off?
Oh, very, very much so. As the car gets lighter in the back, as the tires start to wear out a little bit, and again, we always talk about the tire wear in an Indy car. It's not really going to affect your speed by your lonesome. Definitely going to affect the handling of the car when you're in dirty air. As you're speaking, what you're looking at Andrew Wood trying to get out of that dirty air. Battle for 2nd place between him and Ike. Wood's going to throw it to the inside. Ike's going to fall back 1 spot to 3rd. So you're going to be playing around with that adjustment all run long as the tires start to wear out as you're in traffic. That's going to be the big thing is when you start to use it more. The closer you are behind the driver in front, you want to give a little bit more positive weight jacker to get that car to rotate a little bit more. But you have to remember to change it back because you easily make yourself loose when you're single file.
Man, Jacob Oster, watch the squeeze play that he did on the outside of Tim Holgate here. Right there up against the outside wall. Inches between him and the
A lot
concrete.
of trust
Yeah.
to make that move.
Up to P5. David Adams and Pedro Bleville in the 00 and 8 respectively, 8th and 9th, with the 8 leading the way of those cars. Rashad Craig just behind in that green and black car.
It looks like Bleville might be potentially the cork in the bottle at the moment, the way they're running. Actually, technically, Tony Chown, I think, is more of that cork, because there's a little bit of a gap between himself and the rest of the top 6.
Is the cork where the pressure hasn't built yet?
Give it a couple laps.
Champagne pre-shaken. And this is the stage of the race already where, we're getting to the point where I could conceivably see, as I say that, 2 cars get side by side, a long green flag run, and that's when you start to settle in and passing becomes a lot more difficult and starts to become based on how much you're wearing out your tires. And I still think even with wearing out your tires more than the guy behind you, the dirty air is going to allow you to stay up in front a lot easier than you otherwise would with a track with more banking.
Oh, absolutely. Even looking at the gap for the lead, he's 1.9, almost 2 seconds clear of Andrew Wood, so they're even clear out of the dirty air.
Whoa.
As Oster is getting awfully close with Andreas Ike, almost put him in the wall. That got dicey.
It did. He used Andreas Ike up there a little bit, pretty early on in the race as well, so he's trying to show dominance in that number 16 Team I5G car, moving forward with fervent pace, we'll call it. All the while, David Adams is looking to the outside of Pedro Bleville in the number 8, and I'm amazed at how much they're able to get up the groove and not completely lose the nose of the car.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of impressed by it myself. It was actually, these cars are looking a lot more racier than I thought they were going to be, which is definitely a positive. But they were able to run up there a lot more. And again, I guess it's like we said, their marbles will definitely be a factor. The thing is that if you're using up all the racetrack, the marbles aren't really going to get settled. They're just going to get pushed further and further up. So I think that's what's preventing the top line from being unusable, because drivers keep using it. They're using the middle, the bottom, the low line, all the racetrack. So it's not going to be a lot of marbles set.
And the track's not all that rubbered in to begin with, too. So it'd take a while with a field that's a little lighter than normal for us. So I think that's going to keep things from formulating quite so early, at least. A little bit of side-by-side in the background, Bleville and Adams, and then Rashad Craig and Tony Chown. This 31 is fading quite a ways.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, the qualifying performance not exactly matching up at the moment, as he's still under attack. But with David Adams is looking back under attack with Bleville, they're battle continuing side-by-side for 9th.
Chris Stouffer, we haven't really mentioned his name yet today. Driver that we've seen in this series for many years, P11, chasing down that battle, and it's just amazing how close they get to that wall at a turn 2, and how much they can just trust that the car is going to hook and grab purchase on the exit of the corner.
Yeah, I was going to say, which is the most terrifying part with these cars is just hoping that they'll catch by the exit, because sometimes, especially with the dirty air, you're relying on the aerodynamic grip, and it just never comes. So that's always something to keep an eye out for. And Stouffer catches a little bit of that curve. We want to be careful. We saw what happened to Orman earlier on, and Orman's more or less made up that ground back. But want to be very careful with that curving, no touching.
Yeah, not curves you want to use, not being supercars out here by any stretch. And here comes Bleville to the inside of Chown. Big lunge into turn 1, and he clears the 31 mid-turn.
Solid job, and we'll get up and try to catch back up to Adams to continue there. A little spout. As Christopher lining up to make a move on Chown.
You see how that car rotated on the turn in? He had it just turned in, and it just took an immediate hard left, and then once it kind of grabbed purchase, it understeered a little bit. So they have it loose on entry. I'm not sure what diff settings they have played with it, but it seems like it definitely wants to rotate early and then settles in and gathers grip. Watch this. Oh, well, not that. Got the fence.
Maybe not that time.
No, maybe not that time.
I thought he might have got a piece of the wall. It's also sparks fly from the car. Looking to the inside now.
Yeah, you can just see, as soon as he lifts off, he doesn't even turn the wheel more. Just lifts off and the car starts to rotate. So they've got that thing set up to turn in really well on entry, which gives you that early, there's a little bit of a confidence thing that you have. You turn off into the corner and you feel the rear end unload. But then once it kind of digs in, it's probably a pretty comfortable car to drive, and you get the added bonus of being able to turn in underneath somebody, where they might just have that initial push.
Taking a look back at the leader, starting to get some lap traffic. He's also checked out at 3.2 seconds. He's got some pace in that car.
He does. And last time by a 22.1. He's still the fastest car on the racetrack by a pretty fair margin. As Julian Alton and AJ Musselman are going at it there for a minute. Alton way up high, Musselman way down low. This is not a track that I would have labeled multi-groove from the start, but they have definitely worked that middle groove enough that I don't think it's going to build marbles the way that they keep running. Look how high Alton is up on the racetrack.
Yeah, I was going to say, these guys have been doing a fantastic job putting on this show. It is looking a lot better than I thought it was going to be with the way they're able to run different lines as well as they can. It's just a matter of finding where you can make that speed and sticking with it.
This is just not the racetrack that you would typically pull up a race for to show your friend how amazing IndyCar is, you know. But you pull up something like Pocono or Indy or Fontana from back in the day or whatever. But this one in Iowa probably Gateway probably don't come up on the list all that much. But this is definitely looking racier than Gateway did.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially because they started to get settled out. We are starting to see that now a little bit as drivers are settling out of the middle part of their run. We're expecting them to come in over between lap 50 and lap 60. So we're going to see these guys start to trickle down onto pit road. So just over halfway through the run. Yeah, I think the drivers definitely start to feel it. They've been pushing hard on the tires. I think they're definitely going to start feeling it now.
I also wonder for drivers like Stouffer, who we saw have that really snappy turn-in, what the right rear tire is going to feel like. I mean, I would imagine in a flat racetrack like this, you're almost always worried about the right front first. But maybe not when you're going off into corners with your right side rear kind of dancing in the wind. How much load is it putting on that tire, too?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the biggest thing, especially when you play with something like the weight jacker. You go up on the weight jacker when you're behind someone typically to get the extra rotation, but the issue is that it wears out that right rear tire a lot more. That's just something you got to keep in the back of your mind, because while you may feel like a rocket ship early on, come the end of the run, you find yourself in some tough water. As you see here, Jacob Oster, a great run off the corner. This is actually getting around a lap car. He's trying to get up to Andrew Wood to make a move up for position.
That is, I believe, the number 10, yeah. Gastel in the number 10 Mars Racing car. We'll wait 3 business days for that graphic to come off the screen now. There we go. Andrew Wood, I've been impressed with him so far, but his pace hasn't faded all that much. His best lap is the 4th best lap of the field, but he's running second, so something tells me he's got some longevity built into this car. Does have some pressure though forming in the shape of the 16 of Jacob Oster.
Yeah, that's actually been, I feel like, Wood's biggest Achilles heel. Last couple of times I've seen him on the track, he has some pace, but usually it's a lot of short run pace. Long run pace just doesn't typically seem to be there more weeks than less. But this week he's looking even quicker towards the end of this run. Having said Oster, he's coming up a little bit quicker. He might put up a fight here as Oster tags a little bit of the wall out of turn 4.
He's been flirting with it and running such a high groove, trying to keep that thing tacked up. Find some time. Keep our last laps up on the screen on the left next time by the stripe. We'll see what that does for us. Oh, trouble. Andrew Wood. Ooh, not as big as it looked for a minute, but that'll trade second place. Watch the push for Oster.
Yeah, Wood will fall back in behind. Does he try to make a move? I'm wondering if he feels like he's got enough in that car. I'm not sure he also wants to risk it, at least right now, just to assess to make sure there's no terminal damage. Well, not terminal damage, but long-lasting damage. I can tell you the front wing, the right front of it, it's damaged a little bit.
Yeah, again, the desync with the damage that we see on our end is always frustrating, because you get that initial panic of, oh, he just ripped the whole right front of the car off, but there is some damage to it, but not nearly as bad as it looked like it was going to be, so I'd run away with that. And look at the lap times last time by. Well, not yet. There you go. Oster quicker than Akabueze. That's the first time we've seen that, actually.
Actually, I was just checking your footage, and yeah, actually, I can see more. Like it's like the paint's kind of chipped off a little bit on it. For you, it looks almost perfectly fine, I think.
Yeah, and that's just the difference. Client-side damage model. It's all done on our own machines. Nearing the 1/3 mark of this race in about 7 laps. Akaweze enjoys a 5-second lead, and it was quicker again than Oster. That really impresses me, because Oster is effectively in clean air. Let's see if he's able to match. Now that time he was quicker, so they're trading back and forth right now. But these two are going to have a go at it, I think, at some point.
Yeah, I think Oster's probably hoping that maybe a caution potentially up the road could maybe even it out a little bit, because as far as pace-wise, it seems like they're fairly equal. And you have to consider, too, Oster's managing this pace while pushing in traffic, which is even more impressive. His tires held enough to push this hard later on. And even last time, again, still a little bit quicker, just a hair. And you take out these little chunks over the next 100 laps or so, and you might see him get there. And maybe some decent pit strategy might also help as well.
Rashad Craig and David Adams, this is a battle that's been brewing for a couple of laps, 7th and 8th on the racetrack. Adams was 0.3 quicker last time by. Much lower line. Houston 3 and 4.
And the pit road starting to get a little more busy in the next 5 or so laps. Starting to get near the top part of that range. And as I say that, here comes Tim Holgate.
The first of the front runners to come on down. Of course, we've seen some others on pit road, but that was all at the first yellow where Kevin Burrell and Brandon Trano got together, and it was just a fuel-only stop at that point. Now it's going to be some fresh virtual Firestones and a tank of fuel.
Yeah, a little bit of an early stop. Would have thought I would have tried to at least make it to lap 50 before coming in, which makes me wonder if they're burning a little bit more fuel than I'm expecting.
Doing that, you would expect that we would have seen drivers coming down the next time by, which nobody did. So maybe just a strategic decision there by Holgate.
That could also be it. We did talk about strategy, determining when you're coming on down to the big part of this as well. Getting out there, getting in some clean air. That really helps. Not necessarily the tires, but just getting that clean air.
It's tough on a racetrack like this, only a mile long though, even with only 16 cars running. How do you know you're going to pop out into clean air? You could end up right behind the leaders.
If you have someone doing the math and doing the time, they could probably tell you if you got a spotter, but other than that, kind of on your own. I think actually Jacob Oster is the only one with a spotter. It's Brendan Lichtenberg, who I think you should recognize, former driver of the series. You can figure out probably exactly where he's coming in the out of traffic. Everyone else, don't think so.
There's some really neat softwares I've seen in use. I know it's used elsewhere, but I've seen it used in SRO that can calculate in real time based on the positions of other cars where you're going to pop out and what gaps you'll have to them based on an optimal pit stop. It's very neat to watch as the sector times come in and the adjustment shifts and changes. It gives you the optimal lap to pit. And really cool stuff. David Adams and Rashad Craig. This is a battle. We mentioned it was heating up, and I think that is continuing. Should there be pressure on Adams to get out of this wake and just come to pit lane now?
Well, that's again what we're kind of talking about, is if he really wants to. I think he can definitely just choose to, race Craig and then just beat him down on the pit lane first, and that could help him out. I guess maybe he might want to figure maybe get it done on the track first and then come on down, but the laps starting to tick away until they have to make a pit stop. Still going at it. I think he's also maybe trying to see if he can maybe catch up to not Orman, that is lap car up ahead. Orman's a couple of seconds further up ahead. So,
Altena and Stouffer, this is for 9th. Altena fires it in the bottom. Stouffer crosses over. Joe Branch has the best seat in the house right now.
Trying to see if he can get maybe some sort of side draft, something to work with to try to get back to Altena. Nothing there.
Branch might pick the pocket here of Stouffer while he was distracted trying to sneak his fingers into towards the wallet of Altena. Branch is going to take one away from Stouffer.
Yeah, he was offline and facing some understeer. And Jacob Oster has surrendered second place. He's come on down to the pits, and I think we're going to start to see a trickle of drivers down to pit lane. Joe Branch going way
Here
low.
comes the leaders.
More leaders coming on down. Here they come.
Akaweze, Wood. Ike is going to go around again. We'll see if Jesper Orman does. He'll go around. And Rashad Craig. Where'd David Adams go? He fell way back.
And now he's coming into the pits as he's working past that lap car. Instead of choosing to try to fight the lap car like Craig did, he decided to come to the pits. That could be it. That could get him the spot.
Yeah, but he lost half a second. I mean, imagine if he had pit the lap prior and didn't lose a half a second in the process, too. Whatever he gained by coming in a little early while the Craig was dealing with the lap car, he lost to everyone else.
See how it plays out. Big thing is also coming out of pit lane. Don't speed, and they can give you good news that Hamilton Aquaese didn't speed this time.
That's good.
Learned his lesson from Homestead.
And cycles ahead of Andrew Wood, Andreas Ike, and others, and also ahead of Oster, who's going to come out and just get around, or just be behind. No, just ahead of Andrew Wood is right here. So, but the gap still about 5 seconds where it was.
Yeah, but now Oster can try to focus, maybe push a little bit harder. Ooh, a couple of them got a little bit closer to the wall there. Full tires.
It's always nerve-wracking. You've just done 50-something laps. Everything's going really well. You come out of the pits, and all of a sudden it's like a newborn calf stumbling through the meadow.
Yeah, because I mean, you got fresh coal tires,
Golden retriever on the laminate
tank of fuel.
Golden retriever on the laminate floor, just skittering around everywhere.
That was remember that one year for the Daytona 24 when
This year?
the tires
I mean, it was,
but
but
the tires were like ice cold. Like I think it was like 3 or 4 seconds slower a lap. It was with the old DP, with
I know
the newer
what
DPs.
it's like 2016 or something.
Yeah. Ice cold. That was really like a newborn calf.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty funny. It was funny. I was watching the 24 with someone, and one of the Porsches comes out of the pits, and we're like, man, those tires are terrible when they're cold. And we watched the car for a lap. I don't think it's the tires. It was a fresh driver that hadn't been in the car yet that race, but it was visually off. One of the GT3s. Sorry, GTDs.
They don't get in trouble there.
Yeah. We'll just change the letter and number, make it ours. Our idea.
You know, honestly, it was interesting because I didn't realize that was the reason they ran with that name, that they actually cannot use the name GT3.
Yeah. And they can't use GT4 either, so
Yes.
that's where you get your GS from. Julian Alternate. Pim Van Gestel is in pit lane. That is one of the last drivers that owed us a stop. Looks like Christopher is also in as well. Joe Branch. Well, there's a few more out there, actually. The top 6. Oh, I'm sorry, just Joe. Owe us a stop.
Yeah, remember, he was one of the drivers that pit, so he's got a little bit more fuel in the tank. But a lot of these drivers are going around 55 to 60 laps, which is what I was predicting. So, yeah, I actually just heard him announce that he's coming out of pit lane. So everything's going to cycle out. Hamilton Aquaese back in the lead, then Oscar Wood, Ike, Foreman, your top 5.
A little bit of a lockup, but gets it down to pit road speed. Aquaese's lead to Oster has come down quite a ways, 3.5 seconds. Although now it's sort of stabilized. Oster that time was a 22.2 to Aquaese's 22.1.
Actually, look at Aquaese right now. He's dealing with 2 lap cars battling side by side in front of him. That's going to slow him quite a bit.
Yeah, don't like that.
And it's also one of those things the leader just like, please don't crash right in front of me, please don't crash.
Yeah, I mean, you feel like at the ovals you control your destiny a little less than at the road courses, but you really control your destiny very little at any of these places when you're behind a couple of lap cars that are playing footsie. And he's still held up here. This is crushing his lap time. Whoa. It's that Altena in the background that got the fence out of 4. And Oster's kind of got a similar problem. He's got some lap traffic to deal with. We've lapped all the way up to 9th. Pedro Blable is the last driver on that lead lap. Make that, now he's a lap down, so David Adams will become the last driver on the lead lap.
It's crazy how quickly they're lapping through the field. It's not going to be long before he catches up to David Adams and then Rayshad Craig. And then we only have 6 cars on the lead lap. That's only after 60 laps of green flag, 60-something laps of green flag running.
Yeah, and I think that's just a factor of this, this race going pretty green. And once you get separated out, it's really down to, wow, we're getting so close to the fence. It's really just down to, how efficient you are with the tires, and it creates, fairly sizable gaps. Like Akaboys is running 22.1s, and Hugo Galaz in 15th is running 22.7s. That's half a second a lap. Times 40 laps, that's 20 seconds, which is basically a lap time around here. So Andreas Eich, Jesper Orman, this is battle for 4th. And Tim Holgate is 2.6 seconds back. He was that early pitter. He's been on the racetrack for 22 laps since that stop. But he's only about 30 away or 25 away from his final stop in the race.
Wonder, you got to start taking a look at it as Orman as he's caught up to Eich and looking pretty racy. He's caught him up pretty quickly, the number 76. Not too far ahead is Andrew Woods. We see three-way battle for 3rd position. So Eich's got a lap car in front of him. That's Chris Stouffer, I believe, that's holding him up at the moment.
Is that
That's not Chris Stouffer.
No, it's
AJ Musselman.
I was going to say it's Musselman with the yellow. Stouffer's got some green. Orman pulls up alongside. How are they going to handle this?
That was Eich caught a piece of the wall, but Eich's got the cleaner air a little bit coming out of the corner. Might have a better run, but nowhere to really go.
Orman can kind of pin Eich behind the lap traffic here, and that's what he's going to do. Jam it down the inside, but nowhere for either of them to go mid-turn. Side pod to side pod down the backstretch.
Here go another look down to the inside.
Oh,
and it looks
tight.
like Musselman might be caught 3 wide in the middle, but no. And they're still even at the line.
Orman really wanted by. Musselman didn't give it to him. And they're going to converge again right at the apex of 1 and 2. I'm Eich. Oh, that's a tight squeeze. Thought better of it, but I thought he might stick the nose up the outside when Orman was already looking to drift up and complete that pass. But that did not work out in the 76's favor.
Yeah, I mean, we know Eich not necessarily the most aggressive driver, and usually that's to his benefit. Usually one ends up finishing pretty well due to his lack of aggression, just gets consistent finishes, but fortunately Orman's going to win out in this exchange and scatter off into the distance, try to chase down Andrew Wood.
I wouldn't call it lack of aggression so much as they would excessive patience.
That is definitely one way to...
Just framing it differently,
I like that.
Something I've learned over the years at SRO when got a lot of folks with a lot of investment, in their programs, and you learn to frame things in a positive light. He's not struggling for grip. He's manhandling that car. You know what I mean? Like, it's just stuff like that. It's just clever. Yeah, it's all you gotta be, right? I mean, and it's a nice wine glass too, probably. If I had to guess.
Andrew Wood working past the lap car. That is Hugo Galaz, who's currently in 15th.
That's the second lap that Hugo's gone a lap down. And we're past the halfway point now, and only about 23 laps from your really the midst of your final pit stop window. Rashad Craig and David Adams. This battle is starting to fire off again. We saw it sort of curtail at the end of the last run with David Adams coming to pit lane a little early, but if you recall, he lost a half second to Rashad Craig, and he has not really gained it back yet. So we'll see if he can kind of punch through that barrier and move up in the 7th.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I feel like he probably should have come to pit lane a little earlier when they saw they're catching the lap car. I think actually putting up that lap car was who it was before they came to pit lane. I think if he came early, he might have potentially had the spot, but coulda, woulda, shoulda. There still is one more pit stop left to go before this race is over, so still one more chance to maybe try to get past him down there, unless he feels like he's got a little bit more speed. They're both separated quite a bit, so they're amongst themselves to battle it out. No one really directly behind them, so they can battle it out for a couple laps if they choose to.
Cloud cover over the racetrack now. See how that sort of changes things. We didn't really take a look at the weather earlier.
No.
But see, the track temp is about 5 degrees warmer than the air temp, 26 C at the moment.
Yeah, it is 79 degrees Fahrenheit and 88 degrees Fahrenheit for those who speak in freedom units.
I don't know why I left this one in.
I don't know why either. It's honestly annoying how much stuff is in metric.
Well,
some of these graphics, I look at them like,
I set
do
them
not know.
Well, I just set them to metric because I felt like, you know, it's like if you go to any IMSA team and you watch their onboard telemetry, everything's in metric, and I was like, it just feels like an IndyCar, sports car thing to report it all and see. And then you watch NBC's broadcast, you're like, oh, they don't care.
Yeah, I mean, because it's one of those things to an engineer. They
200 mile an hour. It's Calvin Fisher.
And someone that was working science, metric is good. That being said, you talk to a regular person on the street, they don't know anything metric. So
really enjoy my Calvin Fisher impression. 205 miles an hour. Front straightaway here, Daytona. He's losing his British because he's lived in South Carolina for so long now.
How long has he been there?
About 20 years. Well, he lived in Atlanta for a while. South Carolina's recent. Mile an hour. Did you watch any of the bathrooms, by the way?
I did.
Holy cow, that was a great race.
I wish I got to watch more, but yeah, the parts that I get to see were fantastic.
I watched everything but the last 3 hours, and the first 9 were spectacular for the field side. Anyway, besides the point, we've got a race going on. Season has started, my friends. 2.5 seconds between Akaboidze and Oster.
Still coming down. He's knocked it down to half of what it was, I think, when they came to the pits, because it was just about 5 seconds and change prior to the first pit stop. So if he does exactly what he did this stint and more, and we still actually got a little bit more, I think they got about 20 laps, 15 to 20 laps before they come down one more time. So he can possibly make some more damage. So this race is far from over.
Yeah, I agree. I think Oster's really making inroads. But a lot of this, go back to the first run. Very first, we had that yellow flag, but immediately after, Akaboidze took off. And he knew that a lot of the front runners that would chase him down later were buried in traffic. So he took that opportunity, ran a perfect first stint, and really never looked back. And that alone bought him all this time. So, he might not be leading this race right now if he didn't establish such a big lead in that opening run. So his work, not done yet, but he put a very good, strong start to it to give himself this buffer.
Battles going on the racetrack. Actually, I have to say that Stouffer, Musselman, and Schoen are getting a little bit closer to one another, but not quite there just yet.
0.8 of a second between those two, and looks like the Adams and Craig battle has sort of fizzled again.
And looking behind Adams is Ivan Akaboidze, putting him 2 laps down. They're trying to put him 2 laps down. Oh no, sorry, this is 2 laps down. I thought they were already a lap down.
Yeah, he's got Hugo Galaz 2 laps down. Everybody else is just 1. What's interesting, though, is this second run, I'm not sure why, we haven't continued to put people laps down. I mean, we were almost up to, 6th before?
Yeah.
And on this run, we haven't really added to that total. That just goes to show you how close the front runners are. They're all running basically identical lap times right now, within 1/10 of a second or so.
Yeah, it seems to be a larger pace disparity for the second half of the field. I think we're seeing some of them go lap down and something, and for them it probably feels like eternity.
Yeah, good gain for Oster the last few laps, down to 1.6. So in the time that we've been talking about this, a full second gain.
Yeah, I think there's also been Akaboidze stuck in traffic. He's been trying to work around.
Oster will take it either way, right?
Yeah.
Lap traffic or finding speed.
Start trying to get around David Adams, and finally got around him. We got down to 1.5 seconds, and Akaboidze is not done yet. He's got Rayshad Craig and Tony Schoen, and actually a couple more cars. He's got quite a few cars ahead of Hamilton Akaboidze, so it'll get interesting in the next 10, 15 laps. And it's one of those things where, it's starting to look, okay, at what point can I head down the pit lane at my earliest? Because I'm sure he wants to avoid the giant train of cars ahead of him.
Yeah, he definitely does. One thing I've been watching is the lap times over the course of the run. They're losing about 3 to 5 tenths of a second over the course of the run. Can I just explain to you how wild that is, how little time we're losing, and how bad these cars must be driving after this long? I mean, it's just the margins in cars this fast are so tiny that you can tell at the end of a 50-lap run how awful these things are to drive when the tires wear out, but it hardly shows on the timing screen because it's just going so fast.
Yep. These guys in turn 1, they're heading 185 miles an hour off the turn 1 here. Stupidly fast.
so many cars ahead of Akabueze. I would definitely be thinking about peeling down, making this last run a little longer. And for that reason, it's like, you know, it's not going to hurt you on the timetable as far as the tire wear, but it will hurt you a lot more to have to contend with 5 or 6 lap cars up the road. So with only a full second now, and it's quickly closing over Oster, I would definitely be thinking about hitting pit lane a little sooner.
Yeah, but he's got to hit to that number, though. He can't just come in at any time. He wants to obviously make sure he can make it on one more stint. And even for Oster, too, it's a great chance for him to kind of evaluate the situation. Does he want to come in? Whoa!
That was close. Was that as close as I thought it was? Let's have a look.
I mean, even in IndyCar, it's very close. The closing rate's so fast.
Oh, okay. It looked a lot more shocking from the onboard from Oster.
It could have been bad. But, oh, Hamilton's in the thick of it right now.
Yeah, but Oster's going to have to follow him through it. Because usually you get a little more resistance from as the leader than you do as the second or third place cars.
I think now in the next 3 or so laps, you're going to really want to evaluate coming down to pit road.
That Shawan makes some moves here on AJ Musselman. This is not for position here with this orange car, but the yellow car up the road is, and Akabueze is going to split him. Drops to the bottom. This is actually helping Akabueze. Big wiggle from DeLaz there. Wow.
Oh, and look at what Oster's got to deal with him behind as well, as Shawan's slow on the inside. I don't think he can put up much of a fight. I think he wants to stay out of that battle. Now Oster's got to get around Craig and DeLaz.
Maybe there's some 4D chess going on there, because I thought for sure the right move would have been to come to pit lane, but now Akabueze has cleared it and left a mess in his wake. Oster's going to have to contend with a couple of these cars now. 1 down, 1 to go before he's lined back up behind the 7.
Craig in behind, running up a little bit high. I can't imagine Rachel Craig's going to put too much of a fight now being lapped. Like you mentioned, of course, the leader usually faces the most fighting because the driver's trying to stay on the lead lap. Akabueze did a fantastic job navigating that traffic. That was probably the most efficient way he can get through that.
Yeah, and kept the gap, well, actually a little larger than it was when he started getting into that mess. 1.3 now, and now under 50 laps to go. So we know they can make it from here. And Tim Holgate, he was the first to blink on the last round of stops. He'll be the first again this time.
Yeah, he went 54 laps, so these guys could come in at any point now they choose to. But Hamilton Akabueze decided, you know, I want to have some fun, and got it done on the racetrack.
Oh wow, Oster's way up out of the groove ahead of Musselman, or up the road from Musselman. Holgate out of the pit lane.
Akabueze back out in front and a lot of clean air to work with.
Yeah, and it's immediately evident on the timing screen, 1.4 seconds, growing nearly to 1.5. So already that clean air is definitely helping.
Oscar, one more car between him and Akabueze. That's Christopher.
Just going to show head to head, these two are maybe it's advantage Oster by a bit, but they're so close. You give him traffic, and Akabueze has been a lot more efficient with it. I'm not sure if that's because the decisions he's been making or the situations he's come on, but like in the 7 car still, he's doing a nice job navigating all these issues.
He's doing a great job, but he's going to have a lot more pressure the second run because effectively Oster's going to be breathing down his neck. He really made up that gap. Went from 5 seconds down to 1.3 now, heading into the final pit stop of the race. So he's definitely going to be mounting the pressure on the 7, and now when they're going to be working through the next set of traffic for the final stop, after the final stop, he's going to have to work even going through a little bit quicker. Potentially look at his mirrors as more drivers are down. I believe that's Altona down on pit lane.
Yeah, Julian Altona. Second driver to blink on this second and final round of stops. And really, it's going to come down to these front 2, provided we don't have any major dramas here in the last 15 minutes. It's 9 seconds back from Oster back to Wood, another 3.5 back to Jesper Orman. So Oster and Akabueze taking full advantage of the points leader being out so early. Brandon Trino 106 laps down from a crash on lap 2 with Kevin Burrell. And Oster, pit lane.
Yep. I think definitely needed to come down before Akabueze. He's now getting service.
8.2 in the box. And Akabueze.
Responding immediately. Ooh, oh no. Don't see a black flag for him, so I think he got away with it, but that's the last thing you want to do is throw it away in something like this.
Yeah, he was borderline. That was in really deep, really fast.
He crossed the line at 61 miles an hour.
And the limit is
45.
Yeah, that's fast. Did he get away with it though?
He did get away with it.
Wow.
Still no black flag.
Cops are sleeping in the bushes today, huh?
Well, because he was smart. He slowed all the way down at 22 miles an hour. And remember, because they actually do it based off like what they do in real life, where they time it by sector. So if you time it right, you can get away with it. You got to be very careful. You typically don't want to be messing with the timing lines.
The aggression, you don't know where they are. It's hard to know. The aggression might have paid off. 7.9 in the box, but he gained more than that on the racetrack. So I think that aggressive entry might have done him some good. Now we get to see in the last 40 laps, head-to-head, who's quicker. There's going to be some lap traffic to contend with, some chaos and things left still to sort out. Musselman and Holgate battling for 10th.
Yeah, actually, it's the same group of cars they were battling through before. Because the pit lane time is around 25 seconds, so that puts you about a lap and a couple seconds back from where you pit. It's where you pop back out on the racetrack.
Label and who else is this? That's Andrew Wood from second into the lane.
Oster almost just spun out of turn 4. He's got that car cranked for a rotation on the exit. As he's working past Chris Stouffer as Rashad Craig came down to pit in front of him. So race is on, 1.2 seconds the gap.
Yeah, so that gap came down a lot last time by 0.3 of a second. Look how neutral that car is center corner. And on exit, wow, it's almost straight. And it's just steering on the right rear, pivoting around the center. That car's driving really good right now.
And he has it dialed in. Of course, you got to be very careful once you start to face some more of that dirty air. Mr. Orman coming down the pit lane for his final stop. He's been quietly running well until the top 5. I think with that, that'll mostly cycle through the field.
There's a few stragglers, Joe Branch, Christopher, AJ Musselman, and Hubert Velaz, but none are factors at the pointy end. Those we have sorted, and it's only 1 second now, but it's a lot of clear air for now, which didn't really work out for Akabueze late in the last run. 35 laps to go is a long time to give Oster an opportunity to find a way past.
Yep, no, under a second for split for a small portion there. Yeah, the thing is that for Oster, this last second is going to be the toughest because now he's starting to face the dirty air from Akabueze. So his car was great out in that cleaner air, but now with some dirty air to deal with, one of the fastest cars on the track, no less, that's going to be a bigger hurdle to overcome.
Musselman in for his final stop. Joe Brand shows us one too. He's going to skip the lane this time, but Jesper Orman, who already has made a stop, and Andreas Eich, who's a little ways behind, are likely to work their way around. So for Oster, would you like to be a little closer? He seems like he's sort of stuck in that 1 second bubble right now. Once your tires start wearing out, that job just gets that much harder, yeah?
Yeah, so that's one of those things where you might be better off trying to make the move sooner rather than later. Because Akabueze, these tires aren't really going to wear off that much by comparison. So the pressure of the tires you need is to work with. But I mean, he's trying something. I think he's trying different lines that's not exactly paying off. Was about a tenth and a half slower that lap.
They moved way up the hill in turn 4. Might have scraped the fence. So sort of conventional line in 1 and 2. We'll see if he's still exploratory in 3 and 4. He's way up the hill. We saw a couple drivers doing this earlier. I'm not really sure. Didn't pay close enough attention to see how effective it was. That time was quicker, 22 flat. And both of these drivers ran their best lap just last time around at a 21.942. Sorry, that's not accurate. Their best laps on this run, so 21.9s for both. Slight advantage, Oster. Oh, he's in the fence.
Have to say that, but yeah, no, he's just looking around, searching for grip. I think he's also trying to see where Akabueze is not running and try to stay there to get some cleaner air for better rotation.
But he is faster, though. Again, it was only a 10th gain, but a 10th gain. Back to the bottom.
Yeah, he's playing with inches with that wall.
That time Akabueze was a little quicker by 0.04. And that time Oster, he could have matched, but ran the bottom line there. So this just becomes this cat and mouse game of spotters kind of watching and drivers watching where the others are placing their car. Likely you're not going to be able to beat him if you do the same thing that he's doing, especially when you get to him. All right, that's great. You caught him using the same racing line that he was using. Now what? He's using it too. So you have to figure out how to go faster somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how much, obviously the big thing is you don't want to risk it too much. Last thing Oster needs is to clip the car on the wall and get some terminal damage, because he's still running really well. I think actually this would give him the points lead. I'm going to double check that, but I think with Trano finishing dead last, I think that's definitely going to hurt him in the points.
Yeah, that's a nice big jump for Akabueze, who lost 2 spots at last time out at Texas.
Oh yeah, that'll definitely give him the points lead. It's 60 points for the win without the bonus points, and 17 points for finishing in 18th versus the Trano is. Sorry, technically be 50 for Oscar.
Gap is not closing. Joe Branch finally hits pit lane. I think he was the last of the holdouts. That's save for, no, that's it. So 25 laps to go next time by. The gap is still 1 second flat. What logic is there to tell me that Oster's going to poke through this hole anytime soon?
I think really it's going to come down to lap traffic. They're coming up on a couple of cars up the road. I think really depending on how Akabueze deals with it or how the lap cars deal with Akabueze is going to really be the factor here. So Oster made up a huge amount of time, and that was really the big thing that let him catch back up. But just a question of can Akabueze get through the traffic efficiently?
Oster has led none. Akabueze 110 of the 125 laps we've completed. Been a dominant race by Hamilton. I've been really impressed. Again, a lot of this was that first run sprint that he had just to get away and build the advantage. And of the 4 races this season, Texas and Homestead went horribly wrong, but Gateway and Indy, 3rd and 2nd, podiums there, and a potential first win of the season for Akabueze here. That puts him on as a strong contender. If only it wasn't outside of the top 20 at Homestead in Texas, he might be a little higher up the order already.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a big thorn in his side. Otherwise, he's been finishing really consistent, excluding Homestead from the result. So another solid result and potentially a win if you can just hang on here and nothing out of the ordinary happens in the next 20 laps.
Tim Holgate, let's talk his strategy here tonight. Hitting a little earlier than everybody else. It didn't really seem to hurt him all that bad. As high as 4th today, started 8th, running 6th. I'd call that a successful day if he can hang on to it. He does have Rashad Craig closing in from behind, though. And Craig, through all of his trials and tribulations with the 00, who has not been able to stick to his rear wing, 9th to 7th, so another +2. Good results for both of these drivers if they stay here.
Yeah, Craig's been chipping away at Tim Holgate, got caught up and made it closer. Doesn't matter, can he find that last little bit to overcome and get past Tim Holgate or not? And of course, both of them are going to put up a fight. You know, we talk about give and take. A little bit more give in the first part of the race with drivers finding their place in line, but now it's going to be completely all take, especially with how hard it takes to fight for these spots.
20 laps to go. And we've only had, I mean, I'm not going to jinx us, I hope, but we've only had 1 yellow, lap 3. Kevin Burrell and Brandon Trano getting together in a pretty spectacular fashion. Since then, we've had 128 odd laps of green flag running. Most of them led by Hamilton Akabueze, who maintains a 1.1 second lead and under 7 minutes remaining in this race.
Yeah, for Akabueze, this will be his second win in the Indy Elite Series and his last win coming back at Long Beach in April of last year. Aren't you looking at stepping back up on the top step of the podium?
What was the other one you mentioned? You mentioned Long Beach. What was the other one?
No, Long Beach just would be his second one.
Ah, okay, so he hasn't won an oval yet.
No, he is not.
That's a big thing. It's it's obviously similar car in trim, but pretty different as far as the skills and details that are required to go fast, especially when you're beating a guy like Jacob Oster. And who knows what Brandon Trainer would be up to at the moment if he was on the racetrack, but this is a super strong performance. And given the podiums he's already had, one at a road course, one at an oval, he definitely shows that he's got the flexibility and the skill across both of those sets of regulations that he could be a factor for the championship, absolutely. Just got to get that consistency, which, outside the top 22 podiums and outside the top 20 won't do it if you keep that pattern up.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. That gap's expanded a little bit now, 1.3. Kind of stabilizing around between 1 second and 1.3 seconds. Typically what you see is the kind of dirty air bubble for these cars. Get that kind of wall. Boys are coming up on, is that Andreas Ike ahead of him? That is for 5th.
Yeah, Andreas kind of slowly got filtered out of the podium earlier in this race. He will be, or is right now, the last driver on the lead lap. He'll be the first driver 1 lap down as soon as Akabueze's by him.
And he'll finish 5th.
I mean, this is what you get in these long green flag races. I've been impressed. The lap cars haven't been an enormous factor. They haven't caused any major dramas. They've just slowed drivers down, but that's kind of part of the game. Look at the run Akabueze gets on the outside. See Ike pull over. Gentlemanly thing to do. Oster's going to hate that.
Yeah, for Ike, there's nothing to gain. He's got 9 seconds of the car behind him and 6 seconds up the car ahead of him. So he's kind of running out the laps here. He knows it's not really going to get much better for him here. I think he's going to try to interfere the least amount he can in this battle. Let them fight amongst themselves.
Alton and Joe Branch, this is a battle for 10th here. We've seen these two come across each other a number of times. Not only in this series, but others. Oh, look, Joe's just trying to get that thing to rotate. Turns it down, throttles up. Alton is hot and wide out of turn 2. Swings to the bottom to defend.
Yeah, that car, Alton's car, looking a little bit more understeery, Branch a lot more racy, and I think that might be where Branch may come in. Actually, because Branch only came in 15 laps ago compared to 30 for everyone else. He's using those fresh tires to his advantage.
And things are hot for 6th place. Rashad Craig and Tim Holgate. Craig on the attack, Holgate on the defense. Holgate, not the toothpaste, is red and gray on the outside. The green and black is Rashad Craig, and Branch and Altona.
Whoa. Alton almost caught the wall there. That was really close, but looks like Branch is going to win with better tires on the inside. Able to get that rotation going.
About 17 lap different.
No, not done yet, though.
Not done.
For now.
Done for now. Running out of time, though. 8 laps to go this time through. Tim Holgate clings to 6th. Almost lost it from Rashad Craig. And though Oster has started to take chunks out of Akabueze's lead, it's only due to the lap traffic, and I don't think it's any meaningful game for the last 7 laps of this race.
No, unless Akabueze gets some severe damage in his last couple laps, he should be okay, and I think that's what he's kind of hoping to maybe kind of see if he can get away without having to get past all of them quickly. And I think at this point they'll mostly let him by, but you never quite know. Oster now getting past level, so back directly behind Akabueze.
Just tantalizingly close for Oster, isn't it? You can see it. You can see the win out the windshield. Coming to 5 laps to go. That's underneath Musselman there. Musselman maintaining 14th. Nice efficient pass there.
Oster at this point burning someone's arm is getting itchy. Someone close to end. Although we should mention too, actually, I think close to around this point, if we get a caution, we don't have green-white checkers in this series, so it'll finish out.
Yeah, and I don't know that we'll have to worry much about that because we're down to just 4 laps to go, and it is about a minute away from concluding. Jacob Oster just unable to penetrate the defense. 1 lap older tires, tried to get a little bit of an undercut, but there's just not enough tire wear. Was hoping to avoid some of the traffic. just didn't pan out. The closest he got was about 4 or 5 tenths of a second in the midst of that traffic battle in the middle of the second stint. Once they came out from their second pit stop, there was really no catching Hamilton. He, again, has just been flawless today.
And also, can we just appreciate how quick both
Oh, he's in the
cars
fence. Oh, he hit the wall pretty hard there that time.
And that's what I was talking about.
Stay focused.
On my end, it looked like he kind of avoided it a little bit. I think he just got really, really close. We're talking about the sim.
Oh,
he just kept it off.
I saw sparks on my screen, bro.
Well, one thing I was going to say is you go to the white flag lap, the clinic these two have put on, they are 15 seconds ahead of Andrew Wood in third.
Well, Hamilton Akabueze knows victory in the warmth of Long Beach out in California. His first and only win in the Indy Elite Series. That is going to change today. And it's still chilly up here in the Midwest. But Hamilton Akabueze is hot here in the final season of the Catalyst 317 Indy Elite Series. Akabueze wins at the Milwaukee Mile. Oster for Team I5G comes up short in an 18th to second drive. I don't think we can overlook that. Andrew Wood, third, quietly third. Jesper Orman, Andreas Eich, fourth and fifth.
Yeah, Orman was trying to chase down Andrew Wood in those last 20 laps, never could quite get there in time, so he's going to settle for a position just outside the podium.
Well, job well done for Akabueze. He'll celebrate this. This is big. First time winning on an oval here in the series, at least. I'm sure he's won them elsewhere in the service, but it's always kind of special to throw it down and say, hey, I can do both. I can pat my head and rub my tummy. All right, let's have a look at the race results here before we talk to a couple of our front runners. Hamilton Akabueze, Jacob Oster, Andrew Wood, Orban, and Eich, your top five. Tim Holgate holding off a hard-charging Rashad Craig there in the late stages, and David Adams, how close was he to getting by Craig so many times and just couldn't quite make it stick?
Yeah, it's going to be probably the one that got away, but still solid finish of 8th for him. Then Blebel and Branch for finishing out your top 10, both 2 laps down. And heading over to the next page of finishers.
Give me a moment.
I forgot it was delayed a little bit.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, we got Julian Alton with Chris Stouffer. Tony Schauer, unfortunately, couldn't keep up with that qualifying pace. Back in 13th for him. Musselman, Glaz, Gastil, Kevin Burrell, and then, of course, the big headline for tonight, Brandon Trano getting crashed out, finishing dead last in 18th. That's going to be a big dent in his championship endeavor. Yeah,
lap 3 with that collision with Kevin Burrell, and he was 3 wide. It was a tough situation, but there was a lot of aggression there early. Started back in 10th, was up to 6th within 3 laps. I think just put too much on the line too quickly there, cost himself potentially the points lead and all the gap that he had grown. And that just goes to show you how consistent some of these other drivers have been. That we saw Trano win 3 races of the first 4, and he can lose the lead in 1 race. So I mean, he lost it in a big way, but besides the point. Andrew Wood, 3rd place tonight in the number 64, and we mentioned right at the checkered, it was kind of a quiet 3rd place. The front 2 were only about a second apart. You're kind of in no man's land there at the end, but a strong race, good points day for you in that 64.
Yeah, I mean, the best points that I've gotten all season. I've DNF'd the first 4 races, so to finish this one, didn't matter where I finished. My goal tonight was just to finish the race, and Milwaukee is definitely like top 3 favorite ovals to race on. So yeah, I really think I put it all together tonight, and I felt like the car was awesome, and my teammates there started ahead of me, and they didn't seem to be able to hang on as much. So all 3 of us finished though, so I'm happy to take away a 3rd place, my first podium in I think 3 seasons.
Wow, I mean that's impressive. It kind of gets things pointed the right direction. We talked about drivers like Brandon Trano, who's their momentum is stunted by an 18th place here today. So it gets things pointed the right way as we head off to our next round here shortly, which will be in a couple of weeks at Iowa. How do you feel about heading to that racetrack? I know it's another oval, very different in shape and style. How do you feel? Can you keep this momentum rolling?
Yeah, I'm gonna from here. I'm just gonna try my best to finish races and see where it puts me, because I'm getting reacquainted with the car after not being in it for a bit. So yeah, just want to finish there. Iowa's I have a love-hate with it. It depends on what kind of car I have, what the conditions are like, if it's hot or cold, or that kind of thing. So we'll have to see what the weather will be there, how the car setup will be, and hopefully I can back this up with like another top 10 or something like that. That's what I'll go for there.
Andrew Wood, third place tonight at Milwaukee. Andrew, thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. Jacob Oster comes home second place tonight in the Team I5G number 16. 18th to second. That's a feat in itself, especially in a place like Milwaukee. But it seemed racy out there tonight, and you were able to drive through the field pretty quickly and spend the rest of the race just trying to run down Hamilton Akabueze. Take us through your night in that charge through the field.
Well, I really just knew I had to dig in deep, I guess, and drive through because I really liked this track. And starting in the back, I knew it was going to be racy. I did not expect to have that much overspeed on everybody, but the high line thankfully kind of came in really, really early, and I was able to use that in traffic a lot to my advantage and just couldn't get there in the end.
Yeah, take me through that chase because, we noticed that whole second run in between pit stops. You made up a lot of ground on Hamilton, but then the third run kind of came out sort of where you left off and just were unable to make any inroads. Is it really the aero wash? Is it the traffic that everyone is kind of catching in the same way? What more can you do to poke a hole in the defense of the driver up front?
Yeah, on that first stint, between the first and second stint, I just lost a second and a half in the pits because I babied it in there. And I didn't do that on the second one, but just our cars were so even that you just had to run the right lines all the time. And it takes a lot of momentum here to get a good pass and have someone really mess up. And he just never really did. So it was a good race. It was fun. It was a fun chase to go from 18th to second. Pretty proud of that.
And it's a great day for the points as well, especially with the points leader out in 18th place. Jacob, thanks so much for talking. Congrats on a P2.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And Hamilton Akabueze, man, I'll tell you what, someone's got to calibrate the radar guns down there on pit lane. You came in flying for that last pit stop, but you gained some time enough to hold off Jacob Oster there in that last run. Take us through your night. It was incredibly dominant, and it all started with starting up front and just staying there.
Yeah, I mean, the Q lap here, the way you run it, it's like so hard to hit it right. So I was just, honestly, practice was not going well. I kept crashing, but I was able to hit it like as good as I can ask for when it actually mattered. So that was really good. And then, but yeah, I was just like trying to control it from there. Traffic, a lot of traffic, but people were mostly respectful and it usually wasn't too bad. But yeah, Jacob was I think like clean air versus clean air, I had similar pace to him, but in dirty air he gained a lot. So it was just, I'm glad I was in front to hold him back than trying to pass. So yeah, that helped for sure.
And your first recorded win here in IES on an oval as well. That's big news. First win on the season as well. Up 2 positions as we got now the updated point standings, up into 4th. And we looked at your results for earlier in the season, and besides Homestead and Texas, 3 podiums otherwise. So can you keep that momentum rolling into Iowa next time out?
Yeah, for sure. Iowa will be good. I think it'll be Iowa is always super competitive. Everyone has been good there for a long time. It's really fun. Another short oval. They're always really good racing. Yeah, I mean, 3 podiums, 2 basically DNFs. So, when I put it together, the finish is definitely there.
Well, congratulations, Hamilton. First win in IES on an oval and done in a dominant way. Tonight, you led 136 of 150 laps. Job well done, and we'll see you in the cornfields in a couple of weeks.
Thanks.
All right, Fitting wrapping things up here from the Milwaukee Mile. Forgot where I was for a second. It's all a blur. But 150 laps, 1 yellow. Big news for Trano, but the points shook out a little different than I had expected. Jesper Orman takes the lead. Trano second by 1 point. Oster back 6 from the lead. But things have very much tightened up. 6 points across the top 3 drivers heading into our halfway point.
Yeah, it may not have played out like we expected, but that's awesome to see 3 guys, 3 really strong drivers, all of which have a shot at the championship. And even Akabueze, not that many points behind, still many chances for him to make up points in the rest of the season. Evie keeps the pace going, so this could be a very competitive championship fight. And like I said, all it takes is that 1 turning point. We might have just seen it here for the next couple rounds.
All right, we'll see everybody in Iowa in a couple of weeks' time. Kyle Heyer and Finney Nakuna from SimTV. We'll see you for round 6 of the Indy Elite Series right here on SimTV.